But now we'll have some conclusions from James and Nadir before we go on to questions from the audience. Nadir has requested the opportunity to go second in the conclusion, so we'll have our first conclusion from James White.
First of all, let me thank all of you for coming here this evening. I would like to invite you to do further study into this matter. You will discover that you live in a generation that is blessed with more first-hand information on these topics than any generation has come before you. Even just simply online anymore, you can find so many of these original resources. I would strongly encourage you to take the time to read Clement of Rome, to read Ignatius, to read Balcom's work on the eyewitnesses, and find out for yourself the facts of these matters. It is my intention, as I continue my studies of Islam, to engage with Islamic apologists in respectful and meaningful dialogue. And it is always my desire to show respect for the audience, many of whom are frequently traveled a long distance, and try to stay very focused upon the subject and to provide you with meaningful interaction on the subject. And if there has been in any way that I have failed to provide that this evening to you, I apologize. Let me just, in these last few moments, reiterate what I have said before. While Mr. Ahmed simply dismisses, without providing us with any meaningful, consistent standard, the evidence that I have presented to you, and even when asked questions, give me a scholar. Well, no scholars for you tonight. Well, that's because there aren't any. That's because Mr. Ahmed has presented to you a completely incoherent, from a scholarly perspective, presentation on how you identify documents, the dates of them. I had a presentation that if we had gone a slightly different direction, I was going to show you some of the manuscripts like P66 and P46, P75 from the year 200. I would invite you to get hold of the recordings and go back and see who has been consistent in their terminology and who uses terminology that is consistent with modern scholarship. And I do not mean modern unbelieving scholarship. I'm a Christian, just as many of you might be Muslims. And I recognize the presuppositions that we bring will greatly influence the conclusions that we come to. However, it does not change the fact that the evidence as it stands today, as it exists for us today, very clearly indicates to us that the Gospels, as we possess them, came from the first century. The books that Mr. Ahmed referred to did not. He's referring us to books that are soaked in what his own religion would refer to as paganism, as the days of ignorance, as the pagan celebrations around the Kaaba before the Prophet came. Those somehow are supposed to be relevant to us, while we are to reject those writings of the New Testament that clearly come from that time period. They reflect a knowledge of the events that took place in Palestine at that time. They reflect the language of that time, the religion of that time, and they tell us a consistent message, a consistent gospel, a consistent teaching about who Jesus Christ is. Fundamentally, my friends, the reason we're here this evening is because Muhammad did not know the Bible. He did not have access to it in his own language. There may have been a few little fragments of the New Testament that have been translated personally, but as far as an entire New Testament in Arabic, it did not exist at that time. And I truly do believe that, in fact, if you'll read carefully Surah 5 and the argument there, that the argument he's making is that he is a prophet in line with all the prophets that have come before. I believe he believed that. The simple fact matter is he was wrong. And his followers today are left with a book that is not consistent with what came before. And so what they have to do is they have to apply inconsistent standards to defend the later book from the simple fact that it's not consistent with what it claimed to be consistent with that came before it. That's why we're here this evening. That's why we have seen the questions, obviously clear and good questions, being ignored, and the evidence also likewise being ignored that is presented, and no meaningful standards being provided to us as to how we to analyze these things at all. And so I encourage you, As a Christian minister and as an apologist, my faith has grown strong from responding to the challenges, the best challenges that people present against the New Testament. I encourage you, take the time to read the other side. Take the time to look at what the New Testament says. And I trust the Spirit of God will be your guide in that endeavor. Thank you very much for being here this evening.
And now we'll have a 5-minute conclusion from Nadir, and if you'd like to make a debate challenge.
You can go to my website, examinethetruth.com, and you'll see we've debated the prophetic, scientific, and archaeological evidence which clearly proves Muhammad is the true prophet of God. We are seeing the fulfillment of prophecy as clearly stated in the Quran and in the Hadith, and we're seeing that today. Now, I can't force him to debate me on is Prophet Muhammad a true prophet. And this is the problem. The Christians are running away from this challenge because they're going to the website. They cannot refute the evidence for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tonight really wasn't about Islam and stuff like that, but this is really focusing on the New Testament. I think there's no question about it that the New Testament is a religion of 100% blind faith. 100% blind faith means that there is absolutely no evidence to support it. There is absolutely no facts which could at least suggest that maybe this could have been written by the disciples of Jesus or that Paul was a true prophet. There is absolutely nothing. And I can't force you, to produce that evidence. The reason why you didn't, because you don't have it. You don't have anything like that. And there is not a single good reason why anyone should even entertain the possibility that maybe these books can be true. There's no good reason at all. I'm not an executioner here tonight. I told you that. I only took 7 minutes out of my 20-minute presentation because I know this is going to be a hard night for James. Okay? And because I don't want to make it look like that I'm, attacking your religion. So, I just kind of was very quick with my question and then just got it. But anyways, you don't want to debate me on the evidences for Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him? I take it you're saying no.
It's your presentation, sir.
All right, he's saying no. Then I challenge any Christian who will debate me on Prophet Muhammad, because I'm not going to hold a double standard here, where I ask for evidences from Joseph Smith, people like Apostle Paul, but not ask the same questions about our prophet. So we're ready to debate this, okay? But anyways, he's heard the debates, he's actually commented on them. He's not going to debate me. He knows better to do that. But anyways, now let's talk about, what I believe. Like I said, I was here a couple of years ago and I presented this challenge, okay? Now, unfortunately, I have to comment on some statements made by some Christians against me. And it looks like some evangelical Christian leaders around the world have seemed to have issued a church mandate against me. And I just want to, bring this out here. Jay Smith, who holds a PhD in Islamic studies, look what he says over here. I believe you were CC'd on this email. It says over here, I believe those of us, both Christians and Muslims alike, who are involved in public debates and see value in it, and who want to see this sort of exercise continue, must have nothing to do with Nadir Ahmed of examinethetruth.com in the future. So, you as Muslims, if you want to see these type of debates continue, you have to get rid of me. Now this is, I don't know why he's saying this stuff about me, but it looks like people are taking this very seriously here. And I had a 1.5-hour phone conversation with Gary Habermas, Dr. Gary Habermas. I believe he's one of your New Testament scholars, one of the biggest scholars out there in the world. And he was trying to arrange a debate with me, and over there, he was telling me on the phone that the Christians have begun what is known as the implementation phase of this church mandate. Okay, this is what he told me. He said the Christians are spreading nasty rumors about me, and they're saying nobody debate with Nadir Ahmed of examinethetruth.com. And he also mentioned that most of these groups are working in secrecy and have asked for their identity not to be revealed.